Hello, 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 world. This is Louise Hicks, your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And we're going to talk about Nottoway Plantation that burned to the ground, from what I'm hearing from Lily Bell and many others. But I chose to share my friend Lily Bell's podcast, which she talks about and gives some history about Nottoway Plantation, which is in Louisiana. I was born in Louisiana and I had never heard of this plantation, but she's saying that it was brutality going on there during slavery. And it was 160 some odd years of age, I believe. So let's let Lily Bell talk about it for you. And again, I'm Louise Hicks, your host of this podcast. Please share because you may not have been familiar or knew anything about Nottoway Plantation either. It's very interesting information that's all over the internet about it, and some are telling it to just let it burn. So let's go ahead and hear Lily Bell. And please subscribe to my channel, subscribe to Lily Bell's channel, give it a like, leave your comments because it's pretty interesting here what she has to say about Nottoway. So let's go ahead and listen in on Lily Bell. And it's a short video, so it won't take very
Great for rising.
The roof is on fire.
Nottoway Plantation. I'm reading from an article on the advocate.com site. The link is in the description. It reads, the historic Nottoway Resort in White Castle, a former plantation home and the largest remaining antebellum mansion in the U.S. South, burned to the ground Thursday as flames engulfed the 160-year-old building and its storied and painful past resort. Did you hear that? Now, I'm saying this, Lily Bell saying this. Did you hear they're calling this a resort? I mean, a resort. A resort is a place that is a popular destination for vacation or recreation, all which is frequent for a particular purpose. Well, I guess based on the definition, it is a resort now, huh? And it says former plantation. A plantation, according to Cambridge Dictionary, is a large farm, especially in a hot part of the world, on which a particular type of crop is grown. Let's see what the root says about Nottoway Plantation. Reading from the root, the link is in the description. Although generations have passed since the American Civil War, slavery's past still taunts Black Americans in the form of Confederate flags and Southern plantations. In fact, there remains hundreds of plantations in the American South, many which are still privately owned by descendants of slave masters. That's why Black folks celebrated when news of Nottoway Plantation burning broke headlines on Thursday, May the 15th. But the truth is, this was one of the hundreds of plantations still connecting America to the skeletons in her closet. So here's a history lesson on 15 Southern plantations where the most brutal chattel slavery occurred. Now, this is Lily Bell. The root talks about 15. I'm going to do something on the rest of the plantation at a later date. But right now, I'm going to focus on Nottoway. Now, listen to what it says here now. It says there's a history lesson on 15 Southern plantations where the most brutal chattel slavery occurred. So that means the fact that Nottoway is on this list, that means, Nottoway. The fact that Nottoway, I was maybe if I said Nottoway in a place, yes, sorry about that. It's actually Nottoway. But the fact that Nottoway Plantation is on this list. As a matter of fact, it's number one on the list. So I'm back to the root. Nottoway Plantation was built by enslaved Africans in 1859. The property's main house, located in White Castle, Louisiana, was the largest antebellum mansion in the U.S. South until it burned to the ground on Thursday, according to the Advocate. By 1860, a sugar planter, John Hampton Rudolph owned Nottoway and 155 enslaved Black people. Although the Civil War ended, freeing Americans in 1865, life in Nottoway remained the same for years to come. According to the website, in 1860, Nottoway Plantation had 155 enslaved people. The plantation owner, Randolph, acquired the enslaved individuals as part of his land holdings. These enslaved people lived in 42 cabins and were the backbone of the plantation operation. Nottoway Plantation was undeniably brutal and dehumanizing for enslaved people. These are some of the brutalities done to enslaved black humans as not on Nottoway Plantation. Physical violence and punishment. Physical violence and punishment. Whippings. Enslaved people on Nottoway Plantation were routinely whipped for even minor offenses, and sometimes simply at the whim of the overseer or owner. Other torture. Beyond whipping, enslaved individuals on Nottoway Plantation faced various mutilations and imprisonments, overwork and exhaustion. Enslaved people on Nottoway Plantation were forced to work long hours under harsh conditions, leading to exhaustion, injury, and even death. Inadequate living conditions. Enslaved people on Nottoway Plantation were often housed in cramped, unsanitary quarters, lacking basic necessities like proper food, clothing, and bedding. Psychological and emotional abuse. Dehumanization. Enslaved people on Nottoway's plantation were treated as property, not as human beings, and were subjected to constant dehumanization, undermining their sense of self-worth and identity. Family separation. On Nottoway's plantation, slave owners frequently separated families through sale or forced migration, causing immense emotional distress and disrupting familiar bonds. Sexual exploitation. Enslaved women were particularly vulnerable to sexual abuse on Nottoway's plantation. They were vulnerable to sexual abuse and rape by slave owners and overseers with little to no legal recourse. Constant fear. The threat of violence on Nottoway's plantation, punishment, and family separation created an atmosphere of constant fear and anxiety for enslaved people on Nottoway's plantation. Denial of basic rights and freedoms, lack of autonomy. Enslaved people had no control over their lives or bodies, lacking basic freedoms such as freedom of movement, assembly, and education. Legal disenfranchised. Enslaved people on Nottoway Plantation were denied legal rights and protection, making them vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. Forced labor. Enslaved people on Nottoway's plantation were compelled to work without pay, contributing to the wealth and property and power of slave owners. The institution of slavery on Nottoway's plantation was inherently brutal, inflicting immense suffering on enslaved people through physical, psychological, and emotional abuse, along with the denial of basic rights and freedom.
The roof is on fire. Need no water, let the mother burn, mother, burn. We don't need no water, let the mother burn.
Ancestors, you waited a long time to burn Nottoway Plantation to the ground. Why did you do it? A Nat Turner Runner production. Lock and load. Lily Bell. Be encouraged.
Thank you, Lily Bell. Thank you for that. Let me stop sharing. That was very interesting because I had never heard of Nottoway Plantation, and I was born in Louisiana, so I had to go and do a little research on this. And it's when she said White Castle, Louisiana, well, I guess you can see why it was named White Castle, Louisiana. And I did look it up. I was born in Shreveport. And again, I'm Louise Hicks, the host of this podcast, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. Lily Bell's podcast is Lily Bell Beneath the Crust, and she really goes beneath the crust. I think she goes beneath the pan that the crust is in. She did on this one, it appears. But anyhow, there's a lot of history at this Nottoway Plantation, a lot of history at Nottoway Plantation, which is in White Castle, Louisiana. Isn't that interesting, the name that this town chose? And I did a little research, and it says it's in Iberville, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Iberville, parish, Louisiana. And as many of you may know or may not know, Louisiana doesn't have counties, it has parishes. That's the same as a county. And it says in White Castle, Louisiana, the ethnic makeup is heavily dominated by Black or African Americans, comprising 95% of the population. White individuals make up 4%, while 1% identify as two or more races. Hispanic populations are negligible in White Castle. So there you have it. So you can see why it's 95% Black people there. Because look at what she said about what was going on at Nottoway. So the Black people, many of them, I guess, stayed there when they were so-called freed. However, thank you, Lily Bell. I appreciate that. And that was a history lesson for me because we need to know our history. And I did not know that. And I was born in Louisiana, left Louisiana right out of high school, moved to California, went to college in California, worked in California, had my children in California. So I didn't really know a whole lot about Louisiana. In fact, I get lost there when I go there. Now I have to put my GPS on. I know the way to where I used to live there, Cooper Road, USA, which is said to be the largest Black settlement in America. It's said to be the largest from what we've been reading. There's a lot of history on Cooper Road, USA, and that's where I was born and raised, went to school, an all Black community. And I just wanted to share that with my subscribers. And thank you all again. We're getting a history lesson here because I wasn't aware anything about Nottoway. So it's burned down now. No more Nottoway unless they choose to rebuild it. And I wonder what's going to happen with that. So with that said, please share, share, share so you can learn about Nottoway and how it is among the many, many plantations that held slaves, which is nothing to be proud of for me, anyhow, being a Black descendant of slaves. I'm not proud of any plantation that's standing because it's too many bad memories. I mean, it's sad that Black people were subjected to all of this brutality that was brought out. So again, we must we must cherish and know our history because that's something everyone should know. We should know our history, and we know it's not going to be taught in the school system. So we need to educate. And this was a good historical lesson that I learned. So again, I'm Louise Hicks. Thank you, Lily Bell. Please share, 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 subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And go to Lily Bell's podcast, Lily Bell Beneath the Crust, because she shares a lot of powerful information over there. And she's often on my podcast where we share information. We're baby boomers, and believe me, we are not your typical baby boomers because we are like what it says in 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And believe me, we don't hate anybody. However, we want the truth to be told, especially to our children. They need to know the truth of our history here in America. So thanks again. And Lily Bell and I also believe in speaking up and speaking out. We don't have any fear of speaking up and speaking out because it's important to do that, to educate. And that's why I started a podcast, to elevate and educate our people to a higher level of consciousness, which should unify us and help us to connect the dots once we know the root cause of everything within the Black culture. We are learning a lot. So with that said, again, leave your comments, give it a like, thumbs up, and goodbye, Nottoway. Have a great, great day to all of my wonderful subscribers and listeners. And I will see you in the next video. Remember, your power lies within you. Let it loose because your destiny is your command. Much love.